first and foremost, our community lost 5 members,
Right.
which was very difficult. Very difficult, obviously, for their families, but very difficult to our community. I remember exactly where they sit. I remember my conversations with some of them, and it's hard. It was very, very hard first and foremost, for the families, for the community, and for me personally. I will never forget October 7th, 8:02.
We're very honored here today to have a very special leader, Rabbi and Rav of the Nitzanim community in Baka, a community for Olim, Rabbi Shai. Welcome to JLM Unplugged, a podcast about Olim for Olim. I am Gaby Danieli.
And I'm Michal. We are Aliyah coordinators for the Jerusalem Municipality. We are here to assist and navigate Olim in their Aliyah journey from the initial planning to the final landing and beyond.
Join us as we bring you life stories, experiences, and special guests that you know and love here from our capital city. JLM Unplugged. Toda rabba she'egata. It's our pleasure to host you here. Me and Michal are very honored.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
To be here.
Thank you for coming. So for those who don't know, who is Rav Shai?
Oh, okay. So that's a good question. Maybe I should ask this question to myself sometimes. My name is Shai Finkelstein. I'm now the Rav of Kehilat Nitzanim. And I was born and raised in Israel, in Haifa.
Wow.
And went to Yeshiva High School in Kiryat Shmuel. It's called Pirchei Aaron. And then to Shalabim, Yeshivat Hesder. I was there for 2.5 years before I was drafted. And then I went to the artillery in the IDF. Yeah. I started with something else, and then they had too many Beinishim, too many Hesder guys, so they moved me to artillery, which was a very, very great experience. Got married, finished Rabbanut, and moved to Memphis for Shlichut. Which was really 2 years shlichut. That was the idea of Rosh Kolel Torah Mitzion. 2 became 5, and then I stayed for 16 years as the Rav of the Beron Hirsch congregation and the Rosh Kolel of Torah Mitzion, which was an unbelievable experience. I married 4 children, really 5, because my daughter got married, so my son-in-law is like my son. Wow. So we have 5 children now, Baruch Hashem, and we are very happy here.
Thank you. Let me ask you this, as a Rav, a Kehilat leader, how was the community in Memphis? To being a leader there, because you obviously got your preparation for Shlichut here. You went to Hesder Yeshiva, and now shifting to Memphis. How was that?
The beginning, it was very hard to understand the English. The southern accent is not an easy thing to understand.
Yes.
Memphis it's a gem. It's a beautiful, beautiful community where you have all the streams are trying to get together and to join together in many, many things like the Federation and other things. And the Orthodox Jewish community is flourishing. It's very affluent and it's very involved in everything in the community, not only in the Jewish day school and the yeshiva and the shul, but also with Federation and with Israel and with everything else that's going on in the community. Right. It's a very hospitable community. It's a very kind community. And it taught me a lot about being a rabbi and how to build a community. You come from Israel, and I was born in Kiryat Motzkin.
Right.
Not too much of a community. It's a wonderful city, but not too much of a community. And you go there, you go to Memphis, and you have people who really dedicate their life, their time, their resources to build something that I will call to create a sense of belonging for people on different levels. So Memphis was a great experience for us, and I can explain about it obviously more. 3 out of my 4 kids were born there. My oldest was 1.5 years when we moved to Memphis for just 2 years, as I mentioned before. At least we didn't stay for 210 years like the Jews in Egypt. After 16 years, we moved back. Baruch Hashem, we returned back to Israel. But Memphis is a wonderful community, and I go there every year as a scholar and resident to really be with the people. Beautiful. Because many of them became really our family.
Wow. Just a side question. Have any families from Memphis made Aliyah with you or post you leaving?
So post leaving some, not a lot.
Right.
But every time that someone comes from Memphis, or even he moved through Memphis, and he comes to Nitzanim, he get a great welcome from the Bima.
Amazing. What made you decide, time to pick up, come back to Israel, and specifically to Yerushalayim?
So we always knew that we would be back. That was from the get-go, really since August 30th, 2000. We knew that we were going to go back. Our places in Israel, families in Israel, and we believe that our children needs to be educated and at least serve in the army here and being in the university. So really there are a few elements or few components that encourage us to move back. Really, I think the educational message. It was wonderful being a rabbi in Memphis. I learned a tremendous amount in Memphis, but I think it's a great lesson for the community that this Israeli rabbi is going back.
Right.
So that's
He's Israeli.
the first thing. Yeah. When I came here, I became the American
Rabbi,
rabbi, but
exactly.
there I'm the Israeli rabbi. So
Wow,
that's fine. That's fine with
so
me.
true. That's so true.
So then my oldest was 17
At the time when
we decided to move, and we decided if we're not moving now, it's now or never, because then she will go to college, and then we will stay, and then we'll stay some more.
Right.
So that's not...
Which is so funny, because a lot of people who want to make Aliyah, right, like pre-Olim, have the same thought process, where, you know, if we don't make Aliyah now, we won't make Aliyah, you know, later as well.
Yeah, and there's
It's
a
very
lot
funny.
of truth into it, Michal, as you said, just because it's very hard. There are some certain ages that if you make Aliyah, it might be you fulfill your dream, but it's a nightmare for the kids.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So you need to be careful. You
Right.
need to really talk to the kids. You need to understand what's going on here. And I'm sure we're going to touch on it a little bit later.
So you left Memphis. You brought your family here to Yerushalayim. My question is, what's the scoop? How did Rav Shai get to Nitzanim?
Oh my gosh.
What's the story there?
That's a good story. So I have a friend in Memphis. We are still friends here. And we are neighbors here in Yerushalayim. When he comes here, he has an apartment here. And we go back 22 years already. We are really good friends. I officiated in his children's wedding, named their kids, bar mitzvah. I mean, Baruch Hashem.
Right.
And he calls me up and he says, I'm here on Sukkot. He says, this is the shul you need to go to. This is the shul.
Wow.
That was back then in 2015. I said to him, are you crazy? What? A shul, Nitzanim? I'm not sure. He says, no, this is the place.
Right.
It's like 2 months after that, I was in Israel and I came to the shul on Shabbat and I was impressed and I saw the potential and I guess it was mutual.
Right.
And then Sunday, after we came up to some kind of an agreement that I will think about it and they will offer the job, I was walking on the Mesilah. And I know it's going to sound very dramatic, but I was walking on the Mesilah and then I see, some elderly couples sitting on a bench and then the kids running in the street. I says that, נבואת ישעיהו, ישבו זקנים וזקנות ברחובות ירושלים, ונערים ונערות משחקים ברחובותיה. I said, how can I stay in Memphis? I need to come back to Jerusalem. So that's the scoop. That's the story. It's really someone from Memphis who told me this is the place.
Look at that.
And the rest is history.
That's like a beautiful story of your start as the rabbi, honestly. That's like very meaningful. It's not stam.
That's true. Yeah. I will tell you another story about that story. We had like a prayer dinner every year and about Israel. So we got some people together and it was a dinner and obviously the benefits went to Israel. And 2015, before we left, we came here 2016. I started working in Nitzanim in 2015 and I would commute like every 2 or 3 months. I'll come for a Shabbat or two. Which was an interesting experience to have two communities at the same time, making sure that the family is okay. I'm sure we're going to talk about schools and finding schools. But I really told that story over at that prayer dinner. Wow. And I can tell you, the non-Jewish crowd in that dinner start crying.
Yeah, wow.
If they were so moved that the prophecy of Yeshayahu is being fulfilled in the streets of the Mesilah next to Nitzanim.
Wow.
Yeah,
So, but that's basically the scoop. That's the story of how I ended up in Nitzanim, and obviously it's a hashgacha.
Wow. I just heard you say that you were commuting back and forth. So usually, from what I understand, is like people live here in Yerushalayim and commute to America.
Right.
For you, it was the opposite. So about the process, when you guys had to pick up and move, how did you decide what schools to go to, where your kids are going to belong, neighborhood, other than Nitzanim? And look, because you never lived in Yerushalayim, how did you guys enable that to be very smooth? What helped you out?
Very good question. And I think it's very essential for every Olim or anyone who thinks about Aliyah to make the process as smooth as they can, especially for their children. Right. There is a saying that, Aliyah can be your dream, but it's going to be a nightmare for your kids.
Wow.
And you can be as happy as your least happy child is. So we need to be very careful.
Keep them in mind.
Because it can change the family dynamic.
Yeah.
Right.
The school system here is very different. We are more atzmai here, more independent here.
Right.
Not like in America, very restricted, and you know your path since you are born, what school you go, and you need to build your resume. Here, Israelis are taking it, atzmaut.
Yeah.
We are not that strict. So there's going to be a total mentality change that you need to understand that that's what you're going to have in school. Not that the schools are not rigid and that there is a very good curriculum and the kids that graduate are great kids, but it's very, very different. You don't go straight to university, you go to the army, and in the army itself, you might go to a commando school, officer school. So you might be in the army for 5-6 years and you don't think about university right now. So how to make that transition as smooth as you can. So first, get to know your children, their needs, what do they want, and what are the best schools you can have. Information, I know you guys, you give a lot of help to Olim. You help them to navigate them, to sign them up for school. So this is a wonderful thing. I didn't have it. You didn't exist when I came.
We didn't.
But we had wonderful people from the community helping us. Some of them are heads of schools. They told us a lot about their schools, and they were very genuine, very sincere about the advantages and disadvantages of their schools. And the schools that we sent our kids, and our kids were 5th grade, 7th grade, 10th grade, and my oldest already graduated. So it was some tough ages. And they gave us wonderful advice. We met with the schools. They tried to do everything they could in order to help us. So this is something that you definitely do. And what we did, we brought the kids here for 2 weeks to look at the schools while they were in session, which is like a little tough when you take them away from the schools in Memphis. But you bring them here so they can see a classroom, they can see the kids. So it was very important for us to do it. And some people can say, oh, but you are Israelis. Yes, but our kids speak English. They read in English. They like to talk in English. Now they speak in Hebrew when they speak about the army. But everything else is really English and American mentality. So I can fully sympathize and understand Olim Chadashim legamre, like totally Olim. It's hard. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's hard. And sometimes you think that school is the correct school for you. And then after 6 months or 3 months or 3 weeks, you realize, oops, this is not the right school. Nothing wrong with it. Reassess, reevaluate, make sure that your kid is in the right school.
We want Olim also to know that the Jerusalem specifically, in all its schools, especially elementary, junior high, and high school, they provide assistance for Olim. Especially now, the municipality is investing in the Marechet HaChinuch, with the education system here, a lot of assistance for Olim in the classrooms. So if you can go to Chorev, or you could go to another school, and there's different tracks. So even if it's a Mamlachti Haredi or regular Mamlachti, everyone has room and spots for Olim. And what we do is, especially Michal in our office, she enables Olim already to pre-sign into the school. So because registration here is while you're in America. So the system is different.
One of our coworkers, Emily Lightstone, she's like the guru when it comes to this stuff, and so many people that have never stepped foot in our office don't know what our office is. They hear her name and they go, I need her for my kid. So she's incredible. We really appreciate her.
So Yerushalayim has it. I don't know about other cities to the extent that we do. And now, because we're speaking about the transition, you specifically, I know you have an MBA. I don't know from what school.
Fogelman School of Business in Memphis.
Okay, amazing. So look at that. Rabbi plus business guru. And you work for the Koren. You translate the Koren Mefarshim on Chumash, I think it was?
I collect them. I don't translate them, but yes, collect them.
That's unbelievable. But yet, being a rabbi in Memphis and dealing with the community problems, because as a rabbi you deal with families, children, and then transitioning here to Eretz Yisrael, especially to Jerusalem and Nitzanim, even though it's an Olim community, what's the mentality change that you have to go through yourself?
Very, very good question. The rabbinate in America is a very demanding job. It's a 24/7. You are everything. And it's very hard, by the way, to convey that message in Israel. Like, you're a rabbi, you gave a drasha on Shabbat. So what? No, what else did you do? Oh, I was the psychologist, and I was the fundraiser, and I was the program director, and I was I had to manage 10 people under me, and I need to do this and that and the other, and to give drashot, and funerals, and to make sure that everyone is being visited in the hospitals, and to go and visit the older people, and to make sure that the younger people are happy. So, yes, so that's what you do in America, and that's why most of the times you cannot have another job.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just very curious, and I wanted to do something, so I went to do some MBA, and here I'm really working on my PhD now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but in Talmud, so that's something else. But the idea is that when you come here, so an Israeli shul, the typical Israeli shul, it's a place to daven.
Correct.
Nitzanim was never like that. Nitzanim from the get-go, really from their moment of establishment in their bylaws, they said they're going to hire a rabbi.
Wow.
Now, maybe they didn't know exactly what they are looking for, but it was very important for them from the get-go that there is need to be a Rav for the shul.
And a Rav in the way that you described
No.
Heather is in America. No.
Not
okay.
yet.
Okay.
They didn't know about it yet.
Told them.
They didn't know the Americans are coming yet either.
Yeah. But then you made the work harder on yourself by
Exactly.
telling them. Okay.
So when I came and I was interviewed, I said to them, I need to know the needs of the community, I want to know the vision, and I want to know one thing for sure, that this Bet Knesset is also a Kehilah.
נכון.
So for the Olim in the shul, we really have different waves of Olim. We have Olim who came 30 years ago,
Okay.
and their children are like Israelis. They speak
Right.
English. They like to see, to watch NBA and football,
Right.
but they are Israelis.
Yeah.
And then we have the second wave of Aliyah, who are really fresh Olim in the last,
Fun.
5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, Baruch Hashem, we grew in 150 new families in the last
Wow.
5 years
Wow.
of Olim Chadashim,
Wow.
which is really, Baruch Hashem, Blei Nara, amazing. So the idea is that I said it's very important for me not just to come to a place to daven, it needs to be a Kehilah. And what does it mean, a Kehilah? And that I learned a lot in Memphis.
Yeah.
It's a place that you can call it home. It's a sense of belonging. It's a place of connections on different various levels. Some people come only once a week, some people come every day, some people come to all the classes, some people don't want to be in any class and they are looking for something else. So you need to take that facility and make it a center of connection for Jews who are interested and to interest Jews to come.
Wow. Okay.
And that was very important for me when I signed up with Nitzanim. And it was not the easiest transition. I'll be very honest. I think it was understood, but especially for the Israelis, it was very hard thing to imagine, to fathom. What does it mean, a Kehilah?
Right.
Like you have a Friday night together.
Yeah.
We have a singles event 4 times a year to bring 200 singles to try to bring them together.
Right.
We have a Hanukkah party. We have a Purim party. We have a Matzmaut Simcha.
Right.
We do Chesed. We go and give things to people in need. What does it mean?
Right.
And you know what? They all realized it's pretty good.
It's all of it.
It's great. When you become a Kehilah, does not mean you don't have 3 minyanim a day. You have 7 minyanim a day, which is a wonderful thing. Not that we daven 7 times.
Yeah.
Just we have 7 options. And it's a wonderful thing. So to do this transition from just a Beit Knesset to a Kehilah, and to understand that it's a place of davening, it's a place of tefillah, it's a place of chesed, it's a place of chaverut, that took some time, and now, Baruch Hashem, we call ourselves mostly Kehilat Nitzanim, not Bet Knesset Nitzanim.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
And this is, I think, a really wonderful thing for me, and hopefully more shuls will understand the essence of Kehilah, because especially Anglos, they are looking for a place that they can call a home.
True. Very true.
So that's in a nutshell what
And
we try to do.
how would you say the aspect of the language in the shul, right? So you have Olim, and you also have Israelis, and you have also Olim who, like you said, have been here for 30 years. So how do you navigate the different needs language-wise?
Very good question. If I could speak in the same languages at the same time, it would be very good.
Oh, that would be great.
But what we do is that we have English classes. We have classes only in English. We have classes only in Hebrew. Sometimes when there is a mixed crowd, I will do Hebrew English at the same time. And on Shabbat morning, for example, I'll give the drasha in Hebrew. But after davening, I'll speak in English. I'll give the same drasha, different jokes.
Double time.
And I'll do it in English.
It's good. It's different strokes.
Right?
That's good.
And it needs to be different jokes.
It makes it more interesting for you also.
And a lot of people stay because some of them already start to understand Hebrew, but they just want to check themselves that they understood everything.
Yeah.
Some of them, their spouses cannot understand the Hebrew, so they stay with their spouses. And in Shabbatot, once a month, Shabbat Mevachim, we make a Kiddush. So I don't have time to speak in English, so I send in advance the English translation of the drasha. It's never the same.
Yes.
Because I deviate a bit. I need to deviate. But we encourage people to try to understand Hebrew more. But we also understand that for some people it's not doable or they're not interested. And that's again go back to what? To the understanding of Kehilah.
Okay.
It's not to force the language. It's not to force the mentality. It's to create points of harmony when all the community can come together, but also to create programs that basically target only one group. So it can be singles, Anglos, older people, Israelis.
Right.
So we have, for example, sometimes we have tours. So sometimes we have a tour guide who speaks only in Hebrew, and sometimes we have a tour guide who speaks only in English, and that's fine.
Right.
And even Israelis understand that they understand English, and some Anglos
I'm
understand
sure
that they
it's mix and
understand
match.
Hebrew, and
Yeah.
le'at you create really a community.
And I'm sure there are Israelis, like on both ends, there are Israelis that are learning English that way, and they probably dafka like to go to those shiurim.
Right.
And then there are Anglos that you're a little bit of their ulpan, you're a taste of ulpan for them.
Right.
It's like, if they're not currently signed up, which you can do
Right.
with us, thank God. Rav Shai is your Hebrew exposure.
Don't come to me. Go to your Ulpanim.
Yes, come to us. We'll sign you up for all the Ulpanim. And they're free, I think.
The Ulpan. Yeah,
The
there
Ulpan
are
is free.
some public free Ulpans. Yes,
Right.
yes.
So Nitzanim is in Baka. From what I know, from my personal family and friends of mine, Anglos, mostly I'm talking about North Americans, even though we deal with Anglos from all over the world, meaning England, Italy, whoever speaks English that doesn't fall underneath
Australia, South Africa, England. You said England, yes.
We got also, believe it or not, we have potential Olim from Turkey.
Wow.
One from Iraq recently this year.
Yeah, and India.
And India.
I personally spoke to an Ola from India, and she's so sweet,
wonderful.
and she just loves
So it's Kibbutz
Jerusalem.
Galuyot. It really is. Maybe we'll send them to Nitzanim.
Yeah.
Baka is always, for Anglos at least, North Americans, is always the maybe top 2, if not number 1, community that always they want to speak about or look into as a neighborhood to move.
Right.
So what's so special about Baka? I don't live in Baka. I love Emek Rephaim. I know the other, like I go to Rehov Gad sometimes. There's a nice basketball court, nice, beautiful coffee shops, great shopping. But what is it about Baka Dafka that Americans or North Americans are so connected to or want to be connected to?
So besides the coffee shops and Nitzanim.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. You're looking for other
Right.
reasons.
Right.
So, okay. I think that would be sufficient. That would be
Right.
Dayain.
Well,
Yes.
I said the Mesilah, right? You
The
brought up the
Mesilah, right.
Mesilah. I think
that's
it's
also-
huge. It's
beau-
beautiful.
Right, that's beautiful. You can
Yeah.
walk and you can really enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, first quality of life.
Right.
And the accessibility for everything and the schools.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the schools and this in that area, the coffee shops, the restaurants,
Right.
the shul. I mean, not only Nitzanim, really, there are wonderful shuls around us too. Culture, everything is really around your area, and you don't need really a car. Everything, public transportation or
Very
walking.
true.
So in terms of that, I think quality of life is great. The second thing is I think this is a pocket of a religious Zionist / modern Orthodox pocket in Yerushalayim. We don't have so many of them, and I think when Anglos come, they feel at home.
Yeah.
They feel it reminds them of home. And it's not only the English and the mentality and the culture, but I think that they feel this is a place that reminds me of home. So, look, Baka, from what I heard, I was not there either, 40 years ago was
Very
terrible place.
different.
Terrible place
Very
and a
different.
very cheap place to
Very
buy.
cheap.
Yeah.
It's
But
like what
that's-
Nachlaot is today.
Right.
Super expensive, but like 10 years ago was considered the favelas of Yerushalayim.
Exactly. It's a little tough for young people, for young couples to buy or to rent there.
Right.
If you have a small apartment and your family grow, it's a little hard. So that's
What I
obviously
can
a challenge.
actually say as a young couple, and I tell Olim this a lot when they come to our office and they want to learn about the different communities and neighborhoods. Katamonim, which is like right next to Baka. There's Katamonim that's really far, and then there's Katamonim that's not even Katamonim. It feels like Baka, and it's like that perfect middle ground where the rent is a lot cheaper, and then you're still part of the Baka community, and you're still really close distance. You can walk on the Mesilah, and that brings you to Nitzanim.
Right.
Even honestly, when we show Olim like the different how far away certain things are, we'll use Nitzanim as the starting point.
Wow, thank you.
So just so you know that.
And it's like in Israel, everything is like, it's 5 minutes. Like it's
Yeah,
around the corner.
And then it's 20.
Yeah, who cares,
Yeah.
right? It's you count your tzeadim, you count your steps, so it's
Right.
always good.
Yeah,
even though
yeah.
on Shabbat you can do that. But the idea is that Michal is very correct. It's Baka is great, but there are like four streets that basically constitute Baka. But if you go a little bit further, 2 minutes or 5 minutes or even 7 minutes, it's not that terrible.
Yeah.
The weather is most of the times is good. You can walk and you can find your way, to Nitzanim or to any other shul in that area.
Yeah.
So Baka, I think, but besides the quality of life, I really think it became a pocket of a wonderful religious Zionist
very true.
neighborhood that it's not apologetic. It's a modern Orthodox serious community.
Right.
I mean, there is so much Torah learning, so much Chesed, so much Kehilat, which I think gives many of the Anglos a sense of belonging. So that's
and actually, personally, I think a lot of Olim experience this. You go through waves of, do I want to feel more Israeli? Do I want to feel more American or wherever I came from? And there are times where you're more apologetic about it, and then there are times when you're not. And you say, you know what, like if I'm going to work in Hebrew, if I'm going to go to school in Hebrew, if whatever it is professionally, I want my home to feel like home, just like you said. And I think you go in waves sometimes of loving that you live in Baka, and then times where you wish you lived somewhere in the north or whatever it is. But it's great. It really fills that need for the people that are looking for that. And like you were saying, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's actually a group chat, a WhatsApp group called the Greater Baka Community.
Really?
There are
Wow.
hundreds of people in there, like mainly young Olim, but also I would say some older ones as well. And it's hilarious because when I tell Olim, that's a group chat that you can join, they'll say, oh, but I don't know if I'm moving to Baka. I might be moving to Katamon or Chavia or Nona. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's called the Greater Baka Community, but it's Anglos in Jerusalem. Join the group. And and I think Baka is just like what someone thinks of when they think of an Anglo community in Jerusalem.
Right.
Yeah,
This
which
is
is really
funny.
great. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite place in Baka?
Oh, it's a question.
Oh, ooh. You're talking about the restaurant, coffee shop,
Yeah.
shul,
I'm
or
talking
apartment?
about where does Rav Shai like to go for himself?
Oh, I will not,
And
I
where
will
does
not
Shai
reveal it. I would like to
himself-
be anonymous.
Yeah. Everyone's going to go ask you
Right.
their questions.
Look, Yerushalayim is wonderful. Culturally, there are so many different options. Religiously, obviously, you have so many different options. I mean, we love being here. You can walk everywhere. So that's a wonderful thing. The coffee shops are everywhere. The restaurants are wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, Baruch Hashem, what can we, there's nothing to complain.
Right.
If there is a special place in Baka, some of the old streets, like the more the ancient streets are
Yeah.
so beautiful and so peaceful,
Right.
gives you some kind of tranquility. One of the favorite places is obviously it's the the library, the new library,
The National Library?
the National Library.
Yeah.
Beautiful place.
Yeah,
and
I've not been yet,
it's
so
a
I've
quiet
got to go
place
check
for
it
me to walk.
It's beautiful. The
But
Olim always
it's-
want to go on tours there also.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Mamash incredible. But that's not Baka.
Right.
Baka itself,
It's
the
okay to like
streets
that
of
too.
Baka are beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
And a favorite place to go to daven, it's definitely Nitzanim.
Nitzanim.
Yeah, I think so.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Unbiased.
Amazing. Until the Beit HaMikdash is built.
Right, yeah, Bezrat Hashem.
Until then. No, but for sure. But Nitzanim is a microcosm of the Beit HaMikdash.
Oh, I hope so. But I think, thanks for the compliment.
You have Jews from everywhere.
That's true. There is a kibbutz galuyot, and they are sitting in sections. So I have the
Right.
Australians, the South
Yeah.
Africans,
yeah.
Oh, really?
the people from England, French people. We have even from Colombia.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and I
You gotta
think
pick up
that's it.
Spanish soon.
Spanish, it might be. Yeah. No, so that's wonderful, and really to see people find the common ground and talk to each other. It's really a wonderful thing to see. באמת, it brings people together, and ירושלים כעיר שחוברה לה יחדיו. Like the Yerushalmi says, שעושה כל ישראל חברים.
Oh, wow.
I mean, חברים there, it's really חברים בתרומה, but
כן.
friends, we are all getting together.
Right.
So that's a wonderful sight, really.
That's beautiful.
So I'm going to ask you this. When you came here to Eretz Yisrael, even now to your day-to-day life, you have to deal with people's problems. You have to deal, just like you did in Memphis, I'm sure here in Israel, even more so now, especially post-October 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you were there for support for the war was going on. But here, what did you tell your community? What did you tell the greater Baka Olim about what's going on here? How did you lead them? What did you give them advice on?
That's a very, very, very good question. First and foremost, our community lost 5 members,
Right.
which was very difficult. Very difficult, obviously, for their families, but very difficult to our community. I remember exactly where they sit. I remember my conversations with some of them, and it's hard. It was very, very hard first and foremost, for the families, for the community, and for me personally. I will never forget October 7th, 8:02, the alarms, and we go, and that was Simchat Torah, and we have an incredible Simchat Torah. We go
Right.
to the street, we fill up the street with
Right.
people. That's at night and also during the day, and we have multiple minyanim, and then we hear the alarms, and we go downstairs, and we start hearing some of the news, and we see half of the community, half of the young people, they go, and then they come back with a gun, or they come back with the uniforms, and they start telling us what's going on. So we basically do it as quickly as we can, make sure that the elderlies, they have an escort to their home, so God forbid nothing happened to
Right.
them on the way from shul to their home. And you see that people who made Aliyah 2 years ago, 5 years ago, or a year ago, they have no clue what to do. And the ones who came 30 years ago, their kids are going into the army.
Right.
I mean, my kid went to the army immediately. And you see young families, and they don't know what to do with the kids, and no one knows exactly what's going on. And then you start obviously hearing about what's going on, and you need to take command. you need to tell people what to do. Some of them have no clue what to do. And some of them come 15 minutes, away from the shul, and you need to make sure that they make it home safely.
Right.
And then later on, you start to understand that there are needs. There are needs. The soldiers need some gear and equipment, food. So immediately, and it's not only me at all. We have so many wonderful people in the community. Israelim, born, Amerikaim, Tzfon Afrikaim, everything. Everyone comes together and opening up a hamal. First, the food, B, the equipment, C, money for gear for soldiers, and then helping families in need.
Right.
Because, the family in need before the war have more needs after the war.
Right.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that everyone is being taken care of as much as we can. So that's one component. The second component, which came a little later, we have professionals in mental health in our community, and they start doing sessions in the shul for especially young women who their husbands went to Miluim 2 months, 3 months, and just to give them support. So we did that. Obviously, we did all those barbecues and finding gear for soldiers. We have an incredible person, I will not say names, but he knows, an incredible person who has a friend, and this friend made 16,000 meals for soldiers every week.
Wow.
In a kitchen somewhere in Yerushalayim.
That's crazy.
I went to the kitchen. This guy is a chassid. I said to him, this is the first time that a religious Zionist rabbi will give you kashrut to your kitchen.
Wow.
I didn't give kashrut. I just talked to this guy. Wonderful person.
Wow.
16,000 meals a week for months.
Wow.
And we
I don't even know how that's
contributed
possible.
as much as we could.
Wow.
And drivers to bring it to the bases. And then obviously a lot of halachic questions. Halachic questions from soldiers who needed advice, and then from some of them from families who have she'elot al tarat mishpacha, and then she'elot al kvura, questions about burial. A lot of questions. And you need to be strong. You need to be the leader of the community, to encourage them, to give them hope, to give them vision, not to give them illusions, but to give them hope and reality, to explain it to the new wave of Olim, to the other wave of Olim that came 30 years ago. And also it's very interesting. We have a lot of lone soldiers, which also that was another thing. So I have a WhatsApp group with the lone soldiers to try to give them a little bit of divrei chizuk and their parents.
Wow.
Because just imagine, you are in Australia, your son is in Givati, Golani, Tzanchanim. You don't hear from him because his cell phone is shut down. I know when I send him a message, he doesn't see it. Only after 2 months, he says to me, thank you for the message. The parents can go crazy.
Yeah.
And they need to hear something. So that was something that we did as a community, to try to reach out to the lone soldiers' families and to make sure that the lone soldiers, when they come, someone from the community will meet them, take their laundry, do their laundry, and bring them food for Shabbat, not invite them for Shabbat because they want to rest.
Right.
They want to be home.
That's so true.
They don't want to be, being asked all the questions. They want to sleep.
Yes.
So we made sure that we did it. We also helped with evacuees a lot. We have some great lawyers in our community.
Okay.
And they basically found homes for many of the evacuees, made a contract with people. That's a beautiful chesed. Many of our members have apartments, and just when they come for Chagim or for 2 months, they gave their apartments to evacuees.
Wow.
The lawyers made a contract so they will know.
Right.
To the extent that this is a beautiful story. One of my members who has a beautiful home, he gave it to evacuees. 9 family members stayed in that apartment.
Whoa.
He came for a visit. He didn't stay in his own apartment. He stayed with friends in order not to ask that family to leave the apartment. His apartment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Talking about chesed.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is something that really, again, I don't want to sound dramatic, but it really brought tears to my eyes to see the amount of chesed. And when I asked him about it, he says, סך הכל שבועיים, so I can stay with a friend. They are here, they are evacuated. So I'm just one person. They are 9.
Wow.
Right.
This is the extent of chesed. So Baruch Hashem, I think our community did a lot.
Right.
I think we can do more. I think we should do more, and we should continue to do more. It doesn't end. There is so much to do, but this is where community comes together, really. Really, next month, I don't know when this episode is going to air out, but we're going to do a Shabbat, Shabbat of recognition to all the Chayalim and the Chayalot, the Neshot Miluim, and everyone, Sadir, Vekeva, Vemiluim, everyone, just to recognize and to tell them thank you. We're going to ask 4 representatives to speak about their experience, just really for 3-4 minutes. Nishot Miluim, lone soldiers, Sadir and Miluim. So just for the community, just to really show our hakarat hatov to what they did. Because we have many members who are Miluim since October 7th.
First of all, I didn't know that you guys lost members of the community, so I met condolences for that. And it's tough, because we also deal with lone soldiers and families that come, that want to make Aliyah. Also, Aliyah has gone up post-October 7th, because Am Yisrael, I guess, in America or wherever they are in the world, are coming into Israel, are realizing, okay, it's time. This is like the last shofar call, as they say. And so we deal with that a lot. We also decided to open up support groups with actually one of your members, Nechama Monk.
Right.
Dr. Nechama Monk. She got her PhD 2 weeks ago. Mamash, Mazal Tov.
Right. And it's called the Jerusalem Therapy Center, where we have 3 different programs for Olim. We'll say one group is for single family households. So divorced parents, single parents, whatever.
Widows. Yeah.
Widows, stuff like that. So they come to get support. And then we have a whole different group for singles, young adults who are singles here in Yerushalayim, and then for the older age, Gila Shlishi as we call it. And thinking about what you just said right now, aside from not only, maybe Olim after 30 years need this. And this is all Anglos. By the way, this is the JTC with Wurzweiler and Amudim. It's all for Anglos, first year, second year. But I'm thinking maybe the municipality should do more for Olim like that. And I'm thinking maybe you, Rabbi, with your community, your koach, you can guide us how to go about that. Give us some advice that we could tell even Olim who are coming, or families of Olim. Like, here's a piece of advice that you guys should know. And if you could share with us something that you want to tell Olim that are coming here now to Eretz Yisrael post-October 7th. We have these support groups for them. We have support groups for Olim here. B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to take on this project, expand it for Olim for long term as well. But what advice do you have for the Olim who are coming now to Eretz Yisrael post-October 7th now? Because now it's not maybe I'm making Aliyah by choice. It's because I'm making Aliyah because the world's in turmoil.
So first, we should tell them welcome.
Yes.
And to give them a tremendous applause for doing it. There's one thing to speak about it and then doing it. It's hard. It's a hard transition to leave. Lech lecha me'artzecha, mimoladetcha, mibeit avicha, el haaretz asher hareka. And even with all the support that we give, it's still not easy.
Yes.
I'll be very honest. Israel love Aliyah, not sure about Olim.
It's true. It's a joke, but it's true. I'm one of those Olim. I always loved how I grew up in Associated Hebrew School in Toronto. I went to Chat, which is a community school. I came here to Yeshiva, all different types of Yeshiva. Hesder, other stuff. And I went back to America. I did YU, and then Michal has a different experience. She was courageous. She at age 18 she made Aliyah.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Right. I did the classic route. I went to Harova, and then I just stayed.
Kavod.
Yeah, and for me it's pretty good. I got a lot of good benefits as a young adult. But.
So you're right. It's not easy, and not always like Israel. The state loves Aliyah. Olim, it's very difficult.
Right.
So they ask Michal and I and Emily all the time, like, what do we do when we land down?
Okay. So let's start before you land.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there are a few things that every Olim needs to have a little bit of a checklist.
Okay.
First, as I said, it depends on their family status. Are they married, kids, no kids, what's exactly their needs and everything like that. So first, to make a list of needs. What do we need? Educationally, financially, socially, religiously. So those 4 things, okay? Don't look at the coffee shops, don't look at the restaurants, okay? That's secondary. Those are the main issues, really. Then the second thing is what can I afford? In terms of where should I buy a place? I also will say that not necessarily that you need to buy a place the first year.
Right.
I mean, if you have all the means in the world, it's wonderful. But if you don't, maybe you should rent for a year or 2. Check out the neighborhood. It might be that this neighborhood looks great. But you know what? After 6 months, you realize, not for me.
It's no Baka.
And maybe you go to Baka and you say, you know what?
Yeah.
Not for me.
Yeah,
I would like to integrate more into Israeli society, or I would like to integrate less into Israeli society. Whatever it is, maybe you should rent for a year or 2, see how it goes. Also, the school system is based on your address.
Exactly. Yes.
So this is also something I'm sure you share with the Olim.
Right.
So when you are in this street or in this address, you can send your kids to those schools. So if you're thinking about a different school, you need to take it into consideration. Then you also need to think about your skills. It might be that you are a great profession in America, but when you try to translate it here into Israel, it might be different. It might be difficult. It might say that you need to commute. Then you need to start thinking about how commute going to influence my family dynamic. Okay. It's not about just traveling for 2 days. I'm going to Dallas for 2 days and I come back. It's really going overseas. And how is that going to change the family dynamic? You need to think about it as well. Also, I think there are certain things in terms of socially. Are you happy with one friend or you need to have 20 friends?
Right.
Do you want to go with a group or you can come just by yourself? So there are certain things that you definitely need to think. You also need to talk about budget. In Israel, it's not cheap to live. The only thing that is cheap is the education and the health insurance. Right. But the rent, buying an apartment, even that just quality of life, the food and everything else, it's pretty expensive. Everything that I says is טובה הארץ מאוד מאוד ויכולנו חלה. We can do it. Everyone who wants it can do it. Really, we can do it. You can overcome all the obstacles. But just not to come with this dream, I just land and everything will be great. Everything will be great. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So I think to have some kind of a checklist and also to understand that you will not be able to guarantee everything. Do your homework as much as you can. If you can take your time. Now, after October 7th, I think there is an additional component that you need to take into consideration, which is you are really part of writing Jewish history. Right. Everyone who read Kol Dodi Dofek of Rav Soloveitchik, the Chamesh Tfikot, the 5 times that God knocks on the door, this one is not a knock. This is a shock. Right. Okay? The door is not there anymore. And you heard it. Everyone who coming now definitely understand his or her part of history. So I think it's, even though maybe it's more being pushed rather than being pulled, but I see with the young people gets it. The young people, I see so many of them come here, go to yeshivot, and so many of them become lone soldiers. When I went to the army, now I'm going to say my age, 97 to 99 as part of a Shalabim Hesder Yeshiva, I never heard about a lone soldier.
Right. Wow.
No one. And I knew some Americans, older than me who went to the army. It was 1 out of 80. Right. Now, bli ayin hara, it's an amazing thing. And it's a great attribute or great tribute, really, to the education that they get from home and the influence that they see here in Israel. And they see the future is here. You see, the young people understand that the future is here. So, I'll share a story. One of my members who is a very good lawyer, and he came from England. And I asked him, he was offered 40 years ago to be a professor here and a professor there. And I asked him, I said, why did you come here? And he told me, he says, I wanted to be part of those people who write history.
Wow.
And not just to read about it. This is the enterprise that we all want to be here. It's tough, it's difficult, but you know what? No one is asking you to dry swamps anymore, okay? Or to live in a ma'abara, like my grandparents, when they came after the Holocaust, on Exodus, okay? They came here to a ma'abara, to a place with tents, and nothing here. Baruch Hashem, we have Nefesh B'Nefesh, we have you, we have shuls, we have communities. It's much easier. Not easy, but much easier.
Rav Shai, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
It was really such a pleasure to hear your personal story as well. Not just to see you from the Bima, but also from up close.
Right. And I'm happy I didn't have to go to New York to see this time. Thank you again for being our guest, for giving us so much insight to what it means to be a rabbi in Israel, Yerushalayim, Baka, and to be a part of a community. So we're very happy.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.